Hello, and greetings from los LaRouchistas de los Estados Unidos. My name is Meghan Rouillard, and I'm part of what we call the basement team here in Purcellville, Virginia, in the United States. It began years ago in 2004 with a study of Kepler's new astronomy, where, as you will discover in working on it, he goes to Mars, in a sense, to figure out the shape of the orbit of the Earth, something which was praised by Albert Einstein as quite a creative feat. The basement project under LaRouche has now developed over the years into a scientific project with an explicit economic edge to it, implementing a policy to actually colonize Mars, landing there not only in our minds, as Kepler did, but in reality. This project should begin with lunar industrialization and then the terraforming of Mars by the end of this century. It is completely contrary to the thinking of economic policymakers to think in these terms, of making policy now which is determined by a 100-year future goal to be achieved. Competent economic policymaking is not determined by making short-term investments to make cash. It's not even necessary to refute this now, as this method has clearly brought about the complete collapse of our physical economies and our banking system. However, good economic policymaking is also not simply a question of doing what's necessary to make people comfortable. Basic economic infrastructure can serve this function, like having access to cheap and efficient transportation, clean water, nuclear power, etc. However, do we seek to provide these things for people so that they can simply be comfortable, to relax, and to be bored? No. We provide economic infrastructure for people to support real creative activity and to foster scientific discovery. One of the most profound discoveries we can make in attempting to colonize Mars is what is actually required to support a human mind on another planet. In pursuing this question, we hope to answer questions about the fundamental principle of life itself and how it is intrinsically linked with the structure of the universe as a whole. Many people have the conception of man living on Earth, a sort of accidental phenomena, shielding himself from external phenomena which are hostile to him, such as radiation, especially ultraviolet radiation, gamma radiation, and cosmic radiation. In the 1920s, biogeochemist Vladimir Vernadsky insisted that the Earth's biosphere was in fact intrinsically linked with these cosmic forces. And we are exposed to 40 octaves of radiation here on Earth. While we won't deny that some of this radiation is destructive, we've been finding that low-intensity radiation and electromagnetic fields actually support crucial functions of the living organism. In addition to these, one other thing which we will need to add to our category of necessary infrastructure are the different isotopes of elements. One simple way to define isotopes is that they are atoms of elements which have different weights. The living organism seems to require a very specific kind of diet of isotopes. Even if the soil on Mars has similar elements to what we have here on Earth, if the kinds of isotopes which make up these elements are different, the living organism may not respond well. As you see, we're dealing here with weak forces, which the living and cognitive being requires. We must enlarge our concept of infrastructure to include these things, which are so weak and small that they're easy to disregard. This kind of infrastructure is practically invisible to the senses, much less obvious than some of the other things we consider as infrastructure. The method of discovering causes in the domain of the almost invisible yet efficient principles requires the method of Plato, Cusa, Kepler, Leibniz, and later scientists like Gauss, Riemann, Einstein, and Vernadsky. All of these scientists developed upon a science of dynamics, of power, where oftentimes the power to produce an effect is not a brute force kind of power, but something more subtle. Something else which we must include in our growing category of basic economic infrastructure, which is the uniquely human requirement, is the culture. A scientist who is not driven by a sense of love for humanity and a sense of beauty in general will not be moved to make discoveries, and he will not look in the right place. It is not a coincidence that many great scientists like Einstein and Planck and Alexander Gurevich were also accomplished musicians. All of our great composers were intellectual descendants of Johann Sebastian Bach, whose music utilizes the great principle of irony and counterpoint. A scientist's mind must be able to respond to irony. The same holds true for all of our citizens. So it's important that during your cadre school, you will work on producing and understanding the power of such works of art as Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus. Without a population whose minds are free and whose souls respond to beauty, we will not succeed in changing the orientation of our economic policies towards the future. As the classical composer Robert Schumann said, the laws of morality are also those of art. The consideration of these powers needed to support life and human cognition is really the subject of our cosmic radiation project here in the basement. Posing this problem to ourselves as though we were on another planet, like Mars, reveals to us some of the considerations more easily than trying to solve it on Earth. So like Kepler, we have our minds on Mars, but we do hope that some real human beings will arrive there in time. We're always excited to know that we have an international conspiracy supporting us, such as amongst those of you gathered there in Mexico. And with that, I wish you a great cadre school.